So for those of you who have been watching my channel for a while, you know that I mostly play Victoria 3. Um, and Hearts of Iron 4 is a significantly different game from Vicky 3 with a lot more granular military stuff going on. So basically, I just wanted to do a short explainer series for y'all so that you can sort of understand what's going on in these runs and so that you don't feel lost or like I'm just kind of jumping in the deep end, which I am a little bit with some of these ones because I haven't been super transparent about what I'm doing. So this is just a little bit of. This is the first episode of I don't know how many parts this series is going to be, but this is just going to be an explainer of what is going on in Hearts of Iron 4. This is not going to be a how-to guide. This is not. I'm not out here to teach you to play Hearts of Iron 4 well, but I'm going to teach you how to play Hearts of Iron 4. So, first, let's just take a look at the UI. We've got the clock over here, and these are some views. We got more views at the bottom here. We got our world map, and then over here we got our UI elements, and up here are notifications and some totals. So let's go. We'll start from the upper left, and we'll just go clockwise around the screen until we get, to everywhere that we want to be. So first, this is your country flag. I'm currently playing as the United Kingdom. When you click this flag, it brings up your politics screen, where you can see a bunch of stuff here. Here's your laws and your government advisors, your production companies, your military high command. There are submenus here for occupied territories, exiled governments, and subject states. There's your national spirits here. This goes to the national focus tree. We'll talk about that more a little later. But that's what that button does. Going across the top here, we have political power. You get 2 political power per day. This is kind of a mana. If you play other Paradox games, you know what a mana is. You get 2 of it per day. You're mostly going to spend 1 of it on national focuses pretty much continually throughout the course of your run. So you're going to have a gain of about 1 per day total, plus probably a little bit from your stability and other bonuses, which we're going to talk about in a second. You're going to be able to use this to spend this on changing up your laws, adding political advisors to your government, and making decisions that cost political power. There are also going to be events where you're going to be able to spend political power to achieve certain results. You can also use it to do things like improve relations with other countries. Moving right across here, we have stability. Stability basically represents the people of your country's view of the government and how legitimate it is, and the sort of broad feeling of life continuing as it's intended to be in your country. As you can see here, we've got 89% stability, and that's giving us some significant bonuses. It's giving us 7% extra political power, 15% reduced consumer goods factories factor. That's a bonus. That the language is going to make a little bit more sense once you know a little bit more about what's going on. It's going to give us factory and dockyard output, which is good, and it's going to give us 2% resistance target in occupied territories. That's pretty low. I know it's red. It is kind of technically structured as a penalty, but it's not really. So I'm going to read you the little tooltip here. Stability represents the people's support for the current government. High stability makes political changes easier to push through and helps the economy run smoothly. So basically the takeaway of stability here is that you get your base value and then it shows your modifiers. Stay hydrated, kids. So as you can see, my base value is 60%, and I've got ruling party popularity, which is plus 14.5%. That represents a bonus that scales with the percentage of my country that supports my ruling party. In this case, the ruling party is the Conservative Party. It's a Democratic Party. 97% of the country supports it. And that's why I'm getting 14.5% stability from that. And then I'm getting an additional 15% from National Spirit of King George V, who's the current king of the United Kingdom. And that's adding up to my total of 89% here, and that total is what's being used to calculate those bonuses I have down there. The takeaway is that going at 50%, I think there's no modifiers, Going from 50% up to 100% gives a scaling, modest set of bonuses. Getting below 50% gives you significant penalties. So I think at 0% stability, you're at minus 50% factory output, which means you only produce half the arms and ships that you normally would be. So you really need to stay above 50% stability, if at all possible. And going to war reduces your stability, so you'll see plenty of that as our games go on. Next here is war support, and this represents basically how willing the country is to fight a war. My base value, so you can see the base value here, which is the same as the stability one. My base value is 10, and I've got 5% extra from having a Pride of the Fleet. Things that are going to affect war support. This is a very aggressive soundtrack. I'm just going to drop the music volume a little bit. There we go. So things that are going to affect war support. If you're in a defensive war, you're going to get a war support boost. If you're in an offensive war, you're going to get a war support penalty. As world tension, which is on this little globe icon, increases over time, that's going to give every country in the world an increased war support. The more volatile things get, the more people are willing to fight. Like stability, it has large scaling penalties from 0 to from 50 down to 0%, and then modest but significant scaling bonuses above 50%. So if the United Kingdom were to go to war with its current war support, for example, it would suffer a 35% reduction to mobilization speed, which is the speed at which manpower flows into the manpower pool once it's eligible to be recruited. A reduction of 24% to its surrender limit, so it would probably surrender after losing less territory. Not probably, it would surrender after losing less territory. And there's a significant reduction to daily command power gain. Command power is this stat here. It's used for a variety of things in wars. What your war support is also causes a base penalty to stability. So if your war support is very close to 100, you're going to have a pretty low stability penalty while you're at war. If your war support's very low, though, you're going to suffer a very extreme penalty to stability while at war. So it's important to keep your war support up. You have options for increasing your war support through propaganda and your decisions. And there are various national foci and other things that you can do to increase your war support, same as there are with stability. Over here is manpower, and this is the number you see here is the free manpower. That's the number of people you can put into the armed forces. So I currently, as you can see, have a used manpower of 264,000 in the Army, 31,000 of Air Forces, 158,000 in the Navy, and 289,000 in garrisons. I have a total available manpower of 599,000. Those numbers don't seem right to me. Hold on. 250k armed forces, 250k in the Army, another 280k in... So if we take the Army, the Air, and the garrisons all together, that's about 300k. And then 150k in the Navy, that's about 750k. I don't really understand how those numbers line up exactly, but I'm only now just realizing I'm not sure exactly how these play together, but we'll see. Anyway, in any case, the number that shows up here in this box is just the number that you have available. So if I go ahead and queue up the training of some infantry divisions, as you can see, this number is going to go down. I'm going to cancel that training, and those of those infantry divisions, that number goes up. If I grab divisions off the board here and disband them, for example, if I, let me see, I got a cavalry brigade around here somewhere. If I disband that division, it says I'm going to get 4,500 manpower, and as you can see, my manpower went up. So, that's what manpower is. Every time you take casualties, you're going to lose manpower, as manpower needs to be deployed into existing divisions in order to reinforce them when they've taken strength damage, provided that strength damage is in the form of manpower losses and not equipment losses. If you run out of manpower, it's the beginning of the end for your ability to wage war. You need to get more in order to deploy additional divisions and to be able to reinforce the divisions that you have. Manpower is primarily controlled by the territory you control in your corps, but also by your recruitment law here. We have lower amounts of recruitment at the top here, higher amounts of recruitment at the bottom. The takeaway is that it's going to be a pretty low percentage of your overall population, but it can get pretty substantial as you go up. Next here is your number of factories. Factories are divided into military, civilian, and naval. Civilian factories output construction, which is used to build new things, mostly other factories. Military factories output equipment, and naval dockyards output ships. Next to here is fuel. Fuel is very important for waging a modern war. If you have an army that's completely infantry-based with no navy or air force to speak of, you're not really going to need to worry about fuel that much, but if you want to have an air force or a navy or tanks, fuel is going to be very important. You can see your current fuel here, your base daily gain from different sources, and then your total capacity. And that's this bar, and what this is going to express in the amount of time. If you have green arrows here going up, then this is the amount of time until, provided your fuel situation stays where it is, the amount of time until you're going to be full on fuel. If you got red arrows going down instead, then it's going to show you the amount of time until you're out of fuel. So my current fuel situation is I have 2.8 years until my fuel capacity is full, if I continue with my current fuel situation. And doing anything with vehicles, so tank divisions and motorized or mechanized divisions, anything with ships, anything with airplanes is going to cost fuel. And as you can see, here I can see a breakdown of my maximum daily consumption of fuel by my three branches of my armed forces. Since we're playing as Great Britain here, it shouldn't shock you that the Army is relatively modest, 151 fuels a day. Air Force's maximum consumption is about 3.1k, and the Navy's maximum consumption is a absolutely massive 22.9k fuel per day. Fuel is generated by oil in regions, and you can buy oil from the international market. It can also be generated by synthetic refineries. It's very important to pay attention to your fuel if you're a major power trying to wage a war. Next, you got logistics fulfillment. This is conveyed in the sense of three different resources: trains, trucks, and convoys. Trains deliver resources across long distances in over land. Trucks deploy resources from supply hubs that are supplied by trains to troops at the front. So, as you can see, Great Britain is crisscrossed with railroads. And if I hit the supply map mode, I can see these in a more concrete way. So, suppose, for example, I get invaded by Iceland, who lands at Rosyth and takes over the whole of the lowland Scotland. If they're able to get Edinburgh, Glasgow, and the Lanark Naval Base, then I'm going to be fighting them along this line here, and I'm going to be using trains to transport supplies from my capital to this supply hub here in Dumfries. It's going to have to come up through Liverpool here, and then trucks to transport it from Dumfries to these nearby zones where I can supply units. So that's why both trains and trucks are involved in this. Um, Convoys are for naval supply, and they're how supply crosses water. This is a supply hub, and that's what uses trucks to distribute supplies to nearby provinces. This is a situation that I don't have any proof of this. Well, this isn't. I'm making this seem like it's an accusation. It's not an accusation. I think it's a great idea. This is a situation that I suspect was adapted from another strategy game, at least in part adapted from another strategy game called Unity of Command 2, which has a really well-developed supply system. It's also possible that they were just sort of developed independently and wound up pretty similar. But I don't think it's bad that if Paradox ended up using that system, because I think it's a great system. Anyway, so that's how supply works. So this tells you how much you need of each of these different types of supply things and how much, hold on, how much you've got. So for convoys, I got 81 needed, 81 used, and 1,000 in my stockpile. For trucks, I don't need any, and for trains, I need 35, and I've got 231 in the stockpile. So if, for example, I grab the Dumfries supply hub and I set its motorization level to high, then, well, it's not, hold on, let me just, then it says I need 60 trucks and I have none in the stockpile, so I'm really quite short of logistics fulfillment right now. So that's how that works. Set that back to nothing. Over here is my total convoys. This just shows what I'm using for different functions. This breakdown isn't terribly specific. So, you know, it is what it is. But it's there to give you a sense of what's going on. Continuing along here, we have command power. This is used to activate a wide variety of abilities. Things like general staff. Switch back over to the regular infantry view. Things like the general staff abilities, staff office planning, last stand, force attack, that kind of thing. Your maximum command power is basically 200. You're going to allocate chunks of it for your high command, and then the rest of it you're going to be able to continue to build up, and you're going to use it for things like promoting officers and using abilities. And then next you have your experience bars, your experience counts. These are for land, Navy, and air. And basically, these are some of the biggest bottlenecks in the game. They're going to be hugely important for developing things called doctrines, which give you passive bonuses. They're really strong. And they're used for things like air experience is used for designing planes, naval experience is used for designing ships, and then army experience is used for designing division templates, which is very, very important. Here you've got notifications. There's a bunch of different things here, but I'm just going to walk you through the ones that I've currently got. Research slot available just means that you've got a research slot that's not doing anything. I haven't assigned any research yet in this run, so that's why all my research slots are available. Free civilian factories, this just means that you have civilian factories that are not building anything. You should go ahead and assign them. Military factories, you've got military factories that are not producing anything, you should go ahead and assign them. Missing equipment production means that you have a shortage of a type of equipment that you're not producing any of, and the game's going to tell you this whenever you've got, say, air wings that you're not producing any type of plane that fills. No national focus set means you can go ahead and set a national focus. That's a whole its own mechanic. Unassigned divisions means you've got divisions that are not in an army. Armies are a major interface element in Hearts of Iron 4, so assigning divisions to armies is important. So, for example, if I just select all of the divisions in Britain proper, and click this button down here, that puts them all in an army, and I'll explain to you how armies work in a little bit. This is decisions available. This is a very generic pop-up that is virtually always present. And then finally, no divisions in basic training is something that comes up whenever you have manpower available and the game doesn't think you're quote-unquote short on manpower and you're not training divisions. The more maximum manpower you have available, the higher the threshold of what not being low on manpower means from the game's perspective. Alright, and there are other notifications as well, but these are the ones that I've currently got. Let's continue onward over here. This is the calendar clock. It's currently January 1st of 1936. The game starts at noon on January 1st, but it's currently 4 p.m. This displays in military time. I don't think you can set it to display in American style time. It's currently paused. You can click it to unpause, click it again to repause. Below this we have the game speed. So if we set speed to 1, you'll notice we're moving at a rate of 1 hour per every, say, 4 or 5 seconds. On the other hand, if we set it up to speed 5, the game advances quite fast. So, you've got a pretty wide range of options there. You got summaries, or overviews rather, for land, sea, and air below the clock here. These show you where all your divisions are and their general status. For this, you can see all your fleets. And for air, you can see all your air units. Your air wings. Wings is the word that's used to describe them. Moving right along here, this is the world tension indicator. This is the main menu icon. This is help, and this is the dismissed alerts area. If you right-click and dismiss an alert in one of these zones, it's going to show up back over here, and you can click it to undismiss it. So world tension is an interesting little mechanic. It basically relates to how concerned people are about the state of the world. So it's 1936. Right now, no one's concerned about a war, but if, for example, Germany remilitarizes the demilitarized Rhineland zone here, and as you can see, this is surrounded by a glowing red border. That's what means it's demilitarized. If they remilitarize it, that would lead to a 5% increase in world tension. Everything that causes world tension, every source of world tension decays over time, but eventually it becomes too much and the game hits 100% world tension. Typically. I've never seen a run really end in peace for our time. That's just kind of the way the game goes. The higher world tension is, the higher every country's war support is. Basically, every country gets, I think, 30% of the current world tension as a raw bonus to war support. Many countries are also limited in what kind of diplomatic interactions they have access to based on the war support. For example, if I wanted to guarantee the territorial integrity and independence of Poland, I would not be able to do that in my current state. Where is it? Guarantee independence. And as you can see at the bottom here, we need a world tension of 25% in order to guarantee independence Poland. So that's how that works. Yeah, and this is going to go up. It's the things that are going to get it up are aggressive actions like justifying war goals, aggressive national focuses that do things like annex territories of other countries, and winning wars and stealing their territory. That's what makes world tension go up. It's typically maxed out by the middle of 40, end of beginning of 41, if not earlier. Depending on how things go, it can pop way off way earlier, and that's an interesting one. Finally, down here we have the different views. We've got the default map view, which is just kind of my thing. I can't see any of these other countries' armies because I don't have visual to them. I don't have intelligence that's that strong quite yet. Strategic Navy view shows all my fleets. It emphasizes the sea zones, and I got my Fleet outliner over here. There's a bunch of stuff going on with that I'll go over later. And then we have the strategic air view that emphasizes the air zones. So this makes my air units visible here, and I can see the names of the air zones effectively on the map here. We'll talk a little bit more about them when I explain what air is. Finally, down here we have the intelligence view, and this shows me what my base defense is and how much subversive activity is going on in my country. And the more intelligence work I do, the more content there's going to be there. Go back to the default map view. Over here is the world map, so I can use this to pan anywhere I wish. And I can also drop a ping, an attack ping or a defend ping. Anywhere, anyone who's in my faction who's a player will see these. I don't know that the AI reacts to them in any meaningful way. And then finally here we have the armies interface. Anytime you've got a unit selected, you can right-click on one of these to place that unit in an army. Once a unit's in an army, you can give that unit a general. You can see your generals here. I'll talk more about generals at a later point. The other thing is I can put that army into an army group, and an army group can be led by one of my field marshals. There's significantly fewer of than generals. Anyway, that's about all I got time for today. That should be enough to give you a sense of what's going on with the interface. Next time I'm going to go through the various tabs over here and some other functions, and we'll see how far we get. But yeah, hopefully this will help all of you understand what is going on with me when I'm playing Hearts of Iron 4. So yeah, I've had fun. I hope you all have had fun, and I'll see you all on the other side.